WNBA Commissioner Kathy Englebert is trying to clean up some comments she made on Tuesday during an appearance on CNBC's Power launch. Englebert was asked about the attacks players have faced on social media this season, and that's a great question. We've seen the Angel Reeses, we've seen the Caitlin Clarks, we've seen, we've been going down Chelsea Stewart, we're going down like Brianna Stewart, we've seen so many. The problem isn't the question. The problem is the answer. When asked about the attacks on players, the commissioner of the WNBA didn't condemn them. Instead, she pointed to money. She basically said that the rivalries were good for business. I'm not even exaggerating. You know what? Check this out for yourselves. You can see what I'm talking about. Understand these people. Sorry, a little tech issue there. Is it once again, y'all can tell when I'm solo on a production tip. It's not smooth like last night. Here you go.
That question, which raises some sensitivities of rivalries between players. In the case of Angel Reese, who's just had to shut it down because of a wrist injury, Caitlin Clark, who's continuing to play. Rivalry that goes back to their college days, presumably, where I guess some trash talking entered in. But now it seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation, where sexuality is sometimes introduced into the conversation. How do you try and stay ahead of that, try and tamp it down, or act as a league when two of your most visible players are involved, not personally, it would seem, but their fan bases are involved in saying some very uncharitable things about the other?
Well, the one thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979, when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. So the social media is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But, I always tell the players, I was told a long time ago, if someone's typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. So it's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much, much more so than they were 5 years ago.
Wow. Whenever I criticize Adam Silver, the NBA's commissioner now, I'm going to go back and watch this video and tell myself that I'm being too hard on him. Because I've never seen anybody, not even in the NFL, have I seen a response so awful. The announcer said, look, there's rivalries, but they've taken a different turn, taken a dark turn, not the best use of phrase, but he basically said it's getting offensive, it's getting identity politics driven, it's getting racist, it's getting sexist, it's getting homophobic. Awful things are happening online to your players. And what do you make of it? And she basically said, look, as long as it pays the bills and brings in revenue, we are happy with it. That to me, in all seriousness, there could not be a worse answer than that. But I want to show you something else that came up. And this is why I love the WNBA, because the players, including the white players, and sometimes especially the white players, find an opportunity, they make an opportunity to step up and speak the truth and do the right thing. That includes two-time WNBA champion and finals MVP Brianna Stewart, the first overall pick in the 2016 WNBA draft. She basically said this was some bullshit. And unlike NBA players who are often reluctant to criticize the commissioner, Brianna Stewart stood on business, as the kids say, and I thought did a solid, more than solid job breaking down or responding to the commissioner's ridiculousness. Check this out.
Like, to be honest, I saw the interview today and then have been in talks with Terry at the WBPA. I think that it's kind of disappointing to hear because, you know, the way that the fans have surged, and especially behind Kaylin and Angel coming to this league, but also bringing like a race aspect to a different level. And, you know, there's no place for that in our sport. And I think that's really it, is we want our sport to be inclusive for race, you know, gender, and really a place where people can be themselves. So we wish, obviously, Kathy would use her platform in a different way and have made that a little bit better, but kind of just telling the fans, like, enough is enough, you know? Become a fan of our sport, and for the new ones, like, lock in on everybody, but don't be disrespectful.
Don't be disrespectful. She said there's no place for it, inclusivity. She said all the right things. It wasn't just some liberal PCBS. She it seemed sincere, it seemed principled, and she spoke truth to power. She not only spoke against the racism and the sexism and the homophobia and all that stuff, she spoke against her boss, the real boss, the commissioner, right? Although the commissioner kind of works for the owners, you know what I'm saying. She took a dangerous position. Shout out to Brianna Stewart. Shout out to all of the WNBA players who stood up and spoke out. They spoke up so strongly that the commissioner had to kind of come back with her tail between her legs and say the following. During a recent media interview, I was asked about the dark side, again, not good words, of social media and online conversation about WNBA rivalries and race. To be clear, there is absolutely no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA or anywhere else. What she didn't say was that she messed up. What she didn't say was, hey, I dismissed something that should not have been dismissed. What she did not say was, I made a mistake, I apologize. She made it seem almost as if people didn't understand her, and now she's going to clarify that racism and hate don't have a place in WNBA. I'm sure you didn't think racism and hate had a place in the WNBA anyway. I don't think you're a racist or a hateful person, Ms. Englebert. I don't think that you were trying to suggest that. I think you just did a terrible job answering a question, and you got to take ownership of the terrible job, because otherwise it makes us wonder how you will deal with such matters when something's at stake, if you're not willing to take accountability on something that's fairly low stakes. Nobody's calling for your head. No one's calling for your job. You just say, hey, I focused on the corporate stuff because I was on CNBC, but I really should have said this, and this. That's all you got to do. But you didn't. And therefore, you are where you are. But again, I've never seen a league of any pro sport that has a wider proportion of conscious players, of engaged players, of socially justice-minded players, but not people who are just, carrying a flag for a moment or for likes or clicks. They seem to be genuinely principled and committed to this. We saw that during Black Lives Matter. We've seen it in other moments. So shout out to the WNBA as always for leading the way, for being stewards of this social justice life.